Hello friends, in our Angular application, to handle error, we need a global error page. To create a global error, we should use HTTP Interceptor. We can handle error globally using HTTP Interceptor easily. So let us find the code how to create the Angular error interceptor using HTTP Interceptor. I have already created an application, and in my application I am using HTTP Interceptor FN to create error HTTP Interceptor. Using HTTP Interceptor FN, we create functional HTTP Interceptor. And to create class-based interceptor, we need to use HTTP Interceptor interface. In my case, I am creating functional HTTP interceptor, so I am using HTTP Interceptor FN. Interceptor can easily intercept request and response, and we can check our response whether there is error or not, and on that basis we can throw error or can show a global error page. First we will see how to throw an error when we catch any error in our response. So let us find our functional interceptor. To create a functional interceptor, we need to create a function of HTTP interceptor FN type. I am creating a function named as myErrorInterceptor. The arguments are HTTP request as REQ and HTTP handler FN as next. Using HTTP handler FN, we handle next interceptor in an interceptor chain, or the real backend. It works as a real backend if there are no further interceptors. So in the next method, in the next function, pass the request, and using the pipe operator, now we will catch the error. The error type will be HTTP error response. This is a response that represents an error or failure either from a non-successful HTTP status, an error while executing the request, or some other failure which occurred during the parsing of the response. By getting the object of this HTTP error response, we will call its status property, and if it is 0, then it means there is client side or network error, and if it is not 0 and some other number, then it is backend error, and the port could be 404, 500, etc. And we can throw here error message as we want with the code or just a generic message. like an error occurred, please try again later. Now let's configure our functional interceptor. My functional interceptor here is my error interceptor. Go to the application config and to configure interceptor, go to the provide HTTP client and use with interceptors. And we need to pass our array of interceptors to with interceptors. Provide HTTP client is used to provide HTTP client to handle HTTP request, and with interceptors handles interceptors. Let us run our application. In my application, I am just getting data from server. I am using in-memory API and using a component. I will display that data. You can see like this. Here is a method get books, and in the book component in ng on init fetching the data and assigning it to books, and then printing it in HTML like this. This will print when there is no error. We can see that this time there is no error, everything is fine. For the demo purpose, I will make my URL. It will, suppose this is wrong URL. Now we will not get data because it will not hit the server. So this is the wrong URL. Now let's see what happens. We can see there is an error. An error occurred. Please try again later. This is the same message we have thrown here. So this interceptor will work for every request, and hence it is good for the global handling of error in our Angular application. Sometimes we may need an UI to display the error. So let us change some code in it. Before changing code, I will discuss one more thing. Sometimes it is good to use retry. There may be error because of some network issue, and error is not to the in the server, and it is possible that if it has been tried more than one time, the server has given the response successfully. So we can use retry and pass as many times as we want to retry. Suppose I am passing it true, so it will try request two times if the first request is failed. If the request is not failed, it is not going to retry. So before throwing the error, our application will retry 2 times. Okay. If I correct my URL, I will get the response successfully. Now I will change interceptor to throw not an error code, instead redirect to a global error page. I've already created a code. Here we can see one more thing, that on the basis of error code, we can use switch to log according to error code. If status is 0, it will be network error 400 bad request, server cannot process the request, 401 authentication error. For 500 internal server error. In this case, we can handle our error using switch case. And at last, navigate to global error page, call the router. We can get the router like this. Inject pass router. Router is here. We have imported from Angular router, and then in this way we get the instance of router, and by using this we call it navigate by URL method and pass the path global error. I will show my path. Global error path opens the global error component. And in global error component, we can describe our error page as we want. I have simply written here an error occurred. Please try again later. So this page will be called every time when our interceptor catches any error. Let us run it. Again, I am making my URL wrong, so that it should throw error. We can see that there is an error in our application because URL is wrong, and we are getting our global error page. Okay, thanks.